hoops.
ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that Carmelo Anthony is going to the Portland Trailblazers on a non-guaranteed contract. We should have known something when he talked to TMZ last night.
No. We figured it out. Don't worry about it.
So teams are in contact?
We figured it out.
That is the smile of a man who knows something, and now we all know he is headed to Portland. Of course, Carmelo Anthony, a member of the 2003 draft class that featured LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and Melo, right after Melo won a national championship with Syracuse. He was drafted to the Denver Nuggets, ends up being a first ballot Hall of Famer, but the story is not over. In this video, we'll talk about how he ended up with the Portland Trailblazers and what it means for both Melo and Portland. Hey, it's Casey Kieran from the AM Hoops YouTube channel and the AM Hoops podcast. We're trying to get 24 likes and 24 hours on this video for the amount of points that Melo averages for his career. Be sure and hit us with a subscribe too. We're making 3 quality NBA videos per week. And check us out on the podcast every single morning, Monday through Friday. We recap every single game the night before from the NBA. For Melo, it all started on the Denver Nuggets. That's where he spent his first years in the NBA. He did lead them to the playoffs, but ultimately he wanted to be in a bigger market, and the bright lights of New York City were calling. He wanted to be traded there, and he got his wish. It was a blockbuster trade, moved over the young core of the New York Knicks to Denver. Melo goes to the Big Apple. There were good times and bad times in New York. He won the NBA scoring title in 2012-13. He returned them to the playoffs, but ultimately Melo clashed with both his head coaches and management. As his play started to dip, his clashes with Phil Jackson became more and more public. Ultimately, he demanded a trade. At first, he only said he would be traded to the Houston Rockets, but then he expanded his list of teams to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Melo did land on the Thunder, but he may have regretted it. As his play continued to dip, there were rumors that they might ask him to come off the bench. That led to the famous "Who me" quote.
How do you feel about starting at the 4, or the concept of starting at the 4, or even coming off the bench? And the second question is...
Who, me?
Oh.
Melo eventually did accept a lesser role with the Thunder, but while they found a big 3 of Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony, they could not find success. Eventually, Melo asked to be traded again. He was sent to the Hawks and eventually landed on the Houston Rockets, where it seemed like his career had come to an end. After just 10 games, they cut him despite his known friendship with James Harden. Ever since then, Melo has been out of work. He's gone on talk shows and said that he'll do anything to get back in the league. He said he's been in the gym every day. Video is leaked of Melo working out and looking in shape. And that leads us to today. The season has started, it's mid-November, and the Portland Trailblazers are going to give Melo another shot to rejuvenate his NBA career. They need someone to rejuvenate their season. At the time that the acquisition of Melo was reported, the Blazers had lost 7 of 9 games, and their front court depth has been challenged. They've had to play a lot of Mario Hezonja and Anthony Tolliver after Zach Collins went down with an injured shoulder that led to surgery. Now, Melo to the Blazers makes sense for Carmelo Anthony because he will get a shot. He should see the floor. A lot more than he did in Houston. They've got a need for someone at power forward with how thin they are. He is still a scorer. That's what he's brought to every single team that he's been on, although his averages did dip in H-Town. As a Rocket, he averaged just 13.4 points per game and 5.4 rebounds on 40% shooting, 33% from beyond the arc, and 68% from the free throw line. Now, some of that might have to do with what was happening behind the scenes, sort of messing with his mentality, knowing that he was on the ropes and so was his NBA career. But maybe this rejuvenated Carmelo Anthony that we've seen on social media and the humility that's been brought by being cut and basically outcast from every other team in the league will give him a different perspective on the court, and maybe some of those averages will rise. But one thing that Carmelo Anthony has never been known for is defense, and that's one thing that the Portland Trailblazers also need. The Blazers offseason saw a lot of turnover of personnel, and two guys who left who were key to their defensive identity were Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless. Without them, CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard have had to take on a lot of defensive responsibility along with their offensive roles, and adding Carmelo Anthony doesn't do a whole lot for that defense. Something else this does, if Melo is able to be successful, is take the Portland Trailblazers out of the trade market for a Kevin Love or maybe a Danilo Gallinari from the Oklahoma City Thunder, two very talented power forwards, and that would take one less bidder off the market before the trade deadline. But what this really speaks of is desperation. Neil Olshey with the Portland Trailblazers is watching a team with a very talented backcourt, who they've spent a lot of money on, by the way, in CJ and Dame, may be headed toward the lottery. Again, they have lost 7 of 9 games. And if you look at this roster, it's got both Carmelo Anthony and Pau Gasol in their front court. If that doesn't say desperate, I don't know what does. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and if the Trailblazers didn't do something quick, they might miss the playoffs. They still might, but this isn't much of a risk really with that non-guaranteed contract, but it is a big reward for Melo and a chance to rejuvenate his NBA career.
Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a weekly NBA video.